YouTube, since its conception in 2006, has always been about creating video content. And that is how people build their business. They monetize it by creating this video content platform. The massive economic and social impact that COVID had on the creator economy. In fact, I would argue the creator economy as a term, as a word, as a concept, came from COVID. I could care less about having a massive following, like 100,000, 200,000, a million subscribers. Give me 10,000 really engaged subscribers. It is not sustainable for you to create a brand entirely on your face, but it is sustainable as creating something relevant to your audience that can exist without you. We still have a very big segment of the content creator world that uses TikTok, Instagram, being content creator as a way to supplement their family income to make more money. It's the new gig economy. It's the new side hustle, which is all the things network marketing was always considered. The world of YouTube has changed dramatically, and so has the way creators build and grow their businesses. Today, we're diving into how the landscape has evolved and what it takes to build a thriving YouTube business in 2025 and beyond. What worked before the pandemic might not work now. With new challenges and opportunities emerging, the strategies to grow a YouTube business have really shifted. The rise of new platforms, changes in viewer behavior, and the increased need to go beyond YouTube have all contributed to this transformation. In this episode, we cover the evolution of YouTube creation before and after COVID, the transformation from YouTuber to creator, building a sustainable YouTube business with engaged communities and diverse income streams, expanding beyond YouTube to foster a loyal and multi-platform audience, what it takes to stand out in a crowded and often competitive market. If you're looking to start or pivot your YouTube business, this episode is packed with actionable insights to help you succeed in today's creator economy. Let's dive in and explore the new rules of building a successful YouTube business in a post-COVID world. The Funded YouTuber is brought to you by Gigastar. I had the pleasure of getting to go to VidCon 2024 and be one of their speakers talking about unique ways to make money as a creator, but that is not what we are talking about today. I, of course, as a guest of VidCon and a speaker of VidCon, I went to sessions and panels, and I stumbled upon a very specific session I very much wanted to go to. And this session was all about how to build a thriving business with YouTube from shopping and fan funding. Now, these panels had like killer established brands that had been around for a long time, like the Merrill twins, Cassandra Bankston, Kevin from Epic Gardening, and CB Gray, who have been in this space for years and years, some of them over 10 years. And it got me really thinking when I was listening to them talk about how they have been creating these creator brands. There's a really crucial and distinct difference between how you can build a YouTube brand in the pre-COVID times versus the post-COVID times. And so I wanted to dive into this episode talking about like the differences, like what we hear from veteran elder statesmen in the YouTube space about like how to build a brand and like what were the methods that worked before, like the catalyst for how COVID really changed how we create content and what a creator is. And then like, what are the strategies that you as a YouTuber can be using to build a business post-COVID, especially if you're creating your business in a post-COVID world. It's just a totally different thing in which we're going to do this. So like, here are my notes, okay? So let's talk about what a creator business looked like pre-COVID. So the landscape that we had was that YouTube was the only dominating video platform that we had. There were hardly any other alternatives. Like, yes, you could upload video to Instagram, and yes, you could upload videos to LinkedIn and Facebook and stuff, but that wasn't what they were known for. YouTube, since its conception in 2006, has always been about creating video content. And that is how people build their business. They monetize it by creating this video content platform. And how creators used to make money was through ad revenue, through their AdSense. And this is because YouTube has one of the best, to this day, actually the best creator AdSense program that they have. They split the ad budgets 55% to the creator, 45% to them. And in turn, you keep creating content, they keep giving you money. You also had opportunities like brand partnerships and sponsorships. And this is where like you work directly with a brand, like, hey, look at this cool cup. Like, let me talk about it. And then like they make money. You make money because like you're selling it to them and then they get to talk about it. We also had merchandise sales, like, oh, look at this cool, like my drip right here. Like, we're going to be selling these in this place. Like, we even had the links down at the bottom on YouTube where you could like link to specific stores that would do print on demand. And then, of course, affiliate marketing, which was a huge way for creators to make money. We'll talk about this later, like why we didn't have as many people talking about stuff. affiliate marketing was really effective for creators because if they had an expertise in something, they were known for something, they were going to be able to make money from those affiliates in very heavy, big ways. We also have fan funding and memberships, which is something that you can still do today. Obviously, all of these things still work today, but they're just not quite the same. But fan funding was basically through Patreon. You also had things like super chats and stuff like that worked with live streams. But those are like the core monetization strategies that we had as YouTubers. Like, and you were a YouTuber, you were not a creator. And like, that is how you describe yourself. Like, I'm a YouTuber. I do this thing where I create these things on YouTube specifically, and then they help convert other business for me as well. Yes, there's something to be said for digital products existed. There was something to be said for like having a service business, all kinds of stuff. Like, there's always been lots of ways to make money on YouTube. But those are the core ones that everyone really talks about in a pre-COVID space. And the other thing that is a really big difference isn't just how we make money. It's how we built our audiences, like how our content would be found and what would work. So like when I got started on YouTube in 2017, it was a very much like an SEO how-to strategy that worked really well for like what I was trying to accomplish. And the whole idea of like the browser behavior algorithm home feed wasn't nearly as substantial or necessary as it is today. You could really build a great following by being found in search on YouTube and found in search in Google as well. You could also show up in like other places where you're showing links directly to your YouTube channel. Like you could post your link on Facebook. Facebook would show it to the people that you're following. I know, crazy. And then like you could watch the video and it would really work really well. And so the strategies that we had were consistent content that we could schedule. Like you would post it every single week. Like you showed up every single week. Like you were a TV show. There's still some argument that works still today, but you have a little bit more grace and leniency now that you didn't used to have. Like an SEO algorithm optimization was a huge thing. All the tags, oh my gosh, all the tagging we would do on the back end of our videos, like how to this person, like it was just filled up. Like you had up to 500 you could do, and like you would use them all. We also do a lot of collaborations with creators. We're like, hey, I'm going to post part of this video on my channel and you're going to go post this other video on your channel. And then we're going to support each other's audiences back and forth. It's almost like a way of like, not like fame hacking, like, oh, I'm going to do a video that's going to feature this really popular YouTuber. I'm going to have Colin and Samir on my podcast, like, because their audience knows who they are and their relevancy, like that content will show up in their feed. This was very much me and Colin and Samir made a video together, and we're going to promote each other's audiences to help grow our channels. People still do this, but not really. Like, I don't really see that anymore. It's more like brand collaborations, I think, than creator collaborations. We also have engaging and directing with our audience. Like we could build a community through direct engagement. Like we could build a whole jam in the comment section. Like once upon a time, you could actually like send DM messages on YouTube, like back and forth between people. And so it was like this whole like thing, like where you could really engage and build a community in YouTube, not like have to like get people's attention, take them out of YouTube to like continue the conversation. Like it was very good for community engagement and brand engagement, people engagement back and forth between you as a creator and the brand. Is much more personal relationship. And of course, you can always participate in trending content, like using trends to gain visibility. So like when Avengers Endgame came out, like if you made a video about that, like you were almost always guaranteed to like have a lot of attention because of that like relevancy, that fame hack that like attaches to it. I'm sure a lot of you are like, but Desiree, that sounds like a valuable strategy that we can do right now. Like I hear you, but honestly, it's not the best way for you to be building an audience and starting a YouTube channel and building credibility now, circa like 2024 heading into 2025. Like that is just not a strategy that work anymore. And people that are teaching you that, it requires like some really specific channels and verticals and niches that you're trying to be successful in, that those would work for. But for the most part, those are very kind of stale, plateauy sort of plat ways to build something. Now we have a whole different way that we have to do it. But let's talk about the world that led us to like where we are now. And that's COVID. Like there's no denying like the massive economic and social impact that COVID had on the creator economy. In fact, I would argue the creator economy as a term, as a word, as a concept came from COVID, because you used to have people who are YouTubers, people who are influencers, kind of, and social media marketers. And then this creator economy thing came into place from COVID. Now, we all know that there was like a surge of unemployment, that there was a lot of dissatisfaction in traditional jobs. We know that everyone had to be at home and that we had to connect and build relationships with people because we couldn't see them in person in real life anymore. Live streaming blew up during this time. And it was just, we entered into this world of like alternative, like being like businesses that were never online, people that had never like had Facebook accounts were trying to figure out like, how do I use streaming to work? Do you guys remember when the Tonight Show, like the Jimmy Fallon Show and Stephen Colbert, like when they went home and were still publishing episodes of their show onto YouTube? It was so rough. Like it was like, you would think people that like do professional production could have been like, here is like a little kit for you to make this at home. And I'm sure they got to that point, but it was really rough. It was really like basic, like with a phone, trying to just like stay relevant, stay and support people, entertain them through that time. Like it's hard to remember back then because it's been almost 5 years, but it was a whole thing. And so everyone was there trying to figure out how to make it work. And I think through this time, like YouTube blew up. Like if you look at my analytics on my channel, especially because it's an education channel, there's this huge growth. Like every single creator that you know said, I had huge growth from March through September of 2020. And it was because everyone was at home. Everyone was watching TV. Everyone hit the bottom of Netflix and they went to YouTube and they would watch all these other creators' content. And then people also were like, well, I lost my job. I might as well go figure out how to make this YouTube thing kind of happen. But at the same time that this was all happening, TikTok blew up. And it was like TikTok, which was Musical.ly, they rebranded, it became this whole thing. And it became this constant feed of dopamine hits. And when we were in COVID, we were all in super, like, not all of us, like a lot of us had hit down moments. I know for me, it was really hard. I'm such an extrovert at heart. It was very difficult for me to be stuck at home by myself with like my husband and my kids and like try and make my life work. Like I would travel all the time for work, 2-3 times a month. I would see people, I would network, I would go places. And so to be stuck at home all the time was making me crazy and really took a big toll on my mental health. And so being able to have like these small little dopamine hits I would get from TikTok was like kind of saving for me. And other people had that too. And the other genius of why TikTok became such a big deal is that there's such a big difference in how easy it was to record and connect. All you had to do was like fit into the vertical frame of your camera lens, and it could be selfie even, and it didn't have to be great quality, and you could just talk to people. You could relate and you could connect. And you don't have that on YouTube in quite the same way. Yes, we had the vlogging era, and the vlogging era was a whole vibe, but that was pre-COVID. There was a whole production expectation, a quality expectation. Like success came from highly produced, fast edited sort of videos. And with TikTok, it took away so much of that. Like you could be successful with millions of followers with just you and your phone, paying attention to trends and seeing what was going on. And YouTube and TikTok became like it was the polar opposite. TikTok was the polar opposite of YouTube. It allowed people to propel up to success and relevancy in really fast ways that I don't think anyone could have really expected. And so the other thing, and this is my observation about how COVID changed the concept of how like the YouTuber creator economy worked, is from in this very specific business perspective. I'm a military spouse. My husband now is a disabled veteran, but when I remember in 2013, when I announced on Facebook, because that was where we were at the time, how like, oh, my husband's going into the Air Force now, we're going to be doing this thing. The amount of people in my DMs who were trying to get me to sign up for their network marketing business was astronomical. Your Arbonnes, your Mary Kays, your Sensi's, like those like ones where it's like it's a stay-at-home mom person or whatever who has an at-home business. Like those people just came out of the woodwork at me. And it was because military life traditionally comes with a lot of moving and relocating, which makes it difficult for often women, military spouses, to have jobs. And so they turn to network marketing as a way to supplement their family's income. And all these people came at me because like, I was now part of their target demographic, like with them, like not paying attention to the fact I already had a business. And so I didn't need theirs. And so it became this whole thing. And the reason I am bringing this into this, so like fast forward, from 2013 to 2020, that's what happened with being a content creator. Being a content creator became the new network marketing business. if you had a course or a thing that taught you how to do something to make money online by posting TikToks and YouTube videos, you blew up. You made lots of money. You were telling everybody like, yeah, let's do this. Let's get you money. Let's get you making courses happen, digital products happen, like all these like get rich quick schemes. And in a way, the same way that network marketing businesses do that too. And it was so crazy to see how this happened. To this day, we still have a very big segment of the content creator world that uses TikTok, Instagram, being content creator as a way to supplement their family income to make more money. It's the new gig economy. It's the new side hustle, which is all the things network marketing was always considered. And so I think that it's just really interesting how like those same tactics, those same methodologies came to be. And it's very much the idea like in times of crisis, there's always going to be some solution that either is great or it's snake oil. It's one or the other for people. And it's really about like what works. So that's what happened in COVID. Like that is how COVID like really changed the narrative. Like more people were there. People didn't have jobs. They needed to make money fast. They needed to connect. They needed to have something to do. They needed to be entertained. Like all these needs came through COVID, and the creator economy came to be. And the creator economy is what fueled all of this. It's projected it and propelled it into this like $500 billion business that it is today. So I think that when we can kind of like really dig into like where the creator economy is here to stay and be established was in 2022. Now, in that time, how the algorithms worked, how people did things worked, how YouTube functioned as a tool really changed. We had a lot more live streaming. We got the introduction of shorts. We had YouTube videos and people creating en masse, like finding success from being on those platforms. And more things became popular in ways of life. And we had this term that we have that is it's a trend that's gratefully going away, which is the Mr. Beastification of YouTube, where it's fast, poppy edits, and now we're into this more like connecting long form story-driven content. We went from this place of like we have to have lots of subscribers and lots of watch time to now we're having like more meaningful, intentional relationships with our audience. Like all of these shifts have happened as we've been in 2024 and we're going into 2025. And so when we talk about growth strategies, and after this, we'll talk about like how monetization strategies work. When we talk about like the growth strategies that we see in the creator economy now, and like how I advise people and my fellow YouTube educators talk about how to build a YouTube brand, a YouTube business with a YouTube at its core, there are a lot of really big changes that have been made. And the biggest one, I think, is building a community over a subscriber count. I can't tell you at VidCon, I heard this statement at least 15 times from different panels and expertise. And it was, I could care less about having a massive following, like 100,000, 200,000, a million subscribers. Give me 10,000 really engaged subscribers that are also going to not only be my loyal fans, the real ones that are going to buy from me. If you can get 100 people to give you $50 a month, that's $5,000. That is a $60,000. That is $60,000 salary. Like if you just look at it from that way perspective. So if you can have a really solid community of 10,000, 1,000 to 10,000 people, you can get just 50 of them or 100 of them to buy from you each month. That puts you into a really good footing of being able to have a really solid buying community that you can keep creating for. Yes, it's great to have more because the more engaged audience members that you have, the more opportunities you have to make more money and have more growth in community. But that really intimate community is really important. And we do that by being very intentional and very specific about who we want to talk to. You can't be like, well, I want, like when I was in social media and getting started, I was like, I want to talk to businesses that use social media. Like, obviously that's who I want to talk to. Now when I talk about my business and like where I am as a marketer with 15 years of experience in this space, like who I'm talking to very specifically is I know exactly who they are, where they live, what they're dealing with, how many people they work for, what their income is, like what they're missing in their business, how they spend their time. Like those are the specific people. I'm talking specifically to them. And I am creating specifically for them. And I am addressing their problems specifically. And I'm selling to them specifically what I can do to solve their problems for them. And that's how we want to do that as creator businesses. Whether you're in entertainment, comedy, mommy vlogging, like whatever that is, knowing exactly who you serve and being more specific is going to really help you build that really engaged audience. Now, if you are looking to have a really broad audience, like you're looking for like the viewers and the subscribers and the numbers, yeah, you can go more broad. And the downside of being more specific is like you're kind of stuck in that spot, but there are ways to get out of it and grow in other ways. But I think it's an important thing to talk about, that the number of subscribers doesn't matter as much as the community that you're building. And again, we're going deep. We're really going deep into like what we want to talk about versus going wide, so that we can connect and build that relevant audience. And just because you go deep doesn't mean that only 1,000 people will like you. You can go deep and have millions of people that like you and follow you and want your information. It's just about being able to be specific to really address that specific issue that you are super good at helping people with. When we're talking about building a YouTube audience, very specifically, we cannot ignore other platforms. So we now kind of have to have a multi-platform community plan while we're doing our content. And this does not mean that we are taking our content and we're creating clips from it or little shorts from it, and then we're taking those shorts and putting them across platforms. No, it's about creating unique content for each platform based on what performs best on that platform, based on how you have defined yourself as an online brand, which is another thing that we have to do now that we never had to do before. We had an online brand and persona versus like, I'm this thing on YouTube and that's it. For example, if I am talking about making money on YouTube, like that's what we do here on this YouTube channel. We talk about how to create money and do things. And yes, we repurpose our clips with our interviews with our guests as part of our short strategy. But like what Gigastar, the brand that we do this podcast with, like they have a whole different strategy for what they're doing on Instagram and what they're doing on TikTok. And we're talking about specific things and we're sharing different kinds of mediums, and how we're doing things is different. We're creating for each of those platforms so that it all supports itself as a great ecosystem. So I can say, hey, go follow us on Instagram. Hey, go follow us on TikTok. Hey, go follow us on YouTube. On those different platforms, they support each other in a healthy way, but it allows for you to build a stronger bond with your audience because of that. Additionally, if maybe someone is not interested in watching your long form YouTube videos, but they're interested in TikTok and like that's where they prefer to consume, you should be there creating in the way that makes sense there. That also supports the content you're creating as well. Now, I think it's important to address market saturation. Once upon a time, as YouTubers, there's always a place for you. Like your voice is needed. Like there's plenty of room and space. I would argue that probably is still the case. However, it's still going to be pretty competitive, which is why that niche community is so important versus having like the big broad things. You want to have strategies that allow for you to stand out in that crowded market by focusing on that niche differentiator within you so that you can do it. Like there's one thing about being like, oh, I'm a mom with 3 kids and I live in Utah. And there's another thing between I'm a mom with 3 kids in Utah and one of my kids has Down syndrome and I have ADHD and this is how our family works. It's really like allows those really specific connection points. And so while it allows for you to stand out as the individual that you are in that crowded space, and it's important to really understand that and hone that very well. So how we grow and how we make things on YouTube is so different now. Like we're focusing on a home feed and staying relevant and building our library of Netflix content. We can take breaks. It's okay. We can walk away if we need to. We can do seasons and all those kinds of different stuff with quality that connects with our audience, right? That's what we're really focusing on in our YouTube growth strategy. But we're talking about the money part of it, which is what I always say. I will say this time blue in the face. You cannot create just to create because it's not sustainable. A lot of people out there do create because it's a creative outlet for them or it's an alternative thing. But eventually, without money, there's not a real reason to keep doing something. And so when we're talking about our money strategies, we really want to make sure, again, we have that deep audience that will buy from us very intentionally. That way we can go to our sponsors or our partners and be like, hey, this is exactly who I talk to, and we need to build this long-term relationship together so that I can build a long-term relationship between the product and the audience so that they can have really good connection points. Now, we had talked before a bit earlier about like our old strategy about like memberships and stuff. Nowadays, you have to have a way to talk to your community outside of YouTube. I love YouTube. And if I have to pick a platform to build a business with, right, like or next to in tandem with, I need it to be YouTube. However, in order for it to be successful, I have to have a way to communicate off of YouTube. I cannot rely on that algorithm. So I'm always trying to like build that email list and trying to take people to a Patreon, to a membership platform where we can stay in communication, preferably where that audience member is giving me money for it. And so having a community-centric monetization strategy is going to be really essential for long-term success, especially as AdSense has gone down over the past couple of years. Like I remember making like $1,500 a month on AdSense, and now I'm lucky if I crack like $300. Like it's rough. And I think that's just a reflection of like where we are in the times in advertising. But I think a lot of it too is because advertisers are switching to more sponsorships and influencer marketing because they know that ads don't work as well, but people that have their audience, like pay them to talk about your product, right? So again, having that deep connective audience allows for you to have more monetization opportunities. We also want to make sure that we're having really specific, diverse revenue streams on deck for what we're trying to do. When we have our diverse revenue streams, this is not just like we talked about before, like AdSense and affiliates, all that kind of stuff. It's what are other ways that you can make money? Like, do you have a physical product that you can create and patent? What about creating an agency or a service that you can sell? It's really about like what I talked about in a previous episode about sustainable and unsustainable business models. It is not sustainable for you to create a brand entirely dependent on your face. What is sustainable is creating something relevant to your audience that can exist without you. In the same way that Mark Rober has Crunch Labs and he has his YouTube channel that's for him, like getting people in. Being able to build a business or a product or something that is next to that, that's in relation with the audience, going to support it, but can exist without you is going to be, I think, the ultimate goal that we all want to get to as creators. For me, it's my agency and my network that I have built. That is what people pay me for access to. And I'm trying to build away from just my face and it's more about the name. That way I can diversify my income streams outside of what I do with my agency, like maybe in real estate or investments and stuff like that. When we're thinking about our revenue, we really tend to think like, what is it going to be as a whole? On this podcast, we have so many different ways that you can make money. But I do think if you go back and look at the creators that are having the most success and have been able to find the way to make the most amount of money, they have done two very foundational things. This one, they have a business that's a service of some kind, that it's a one signature product that they sell en masse that is their main thing. We saw this on video. We saw this with Scott Simpson. We saw this with Ed from Film Booth, where they have this one core product that they sell, and that's like what they're focusing on that allows for them to make literally $1 million businesses. And I think that the second thing that we really need to focus on, we're talking about building a really sustainable creator business that we have seen repeatedly throughout our time, is being adaptable. All of the creators that we've had on our podcast so far, all of them we have going forward, have been able to study what's happening around them, what's happening in the creator economy, what's happening in the industry, and pivot and adjust what they sell and how they sell so that they can still make an income. I know for me that with my agency, so I had All In Social Media, which was my social media marketing agency that was package based, so like $100, $200, $300 a month packages. That wasn't sustainable because social media became less of a dominating way for businesses to market and more of a part of ways for businesses to market. And it became a thing that wasn't necessary and it was an easy thing for people to throw away. Now, with what our agency does, not only do we have a full-blown organic marketing strategy around long-form content, but we also support it with CMO services. Like having a fractional CMO allows for businesses to dive into like, what are the other ways that we can be making money as a business, right? So adapting and adjusting how you do things and staying relevant through what your core expertise are. Again, I've been doing this for 15 years. I got started on MySpace, guys. If ever there was a time to really look at like what worked before and what didn't, it's being able to look through the past and like see how you can pivot and adjust and know that what you're doing now at some point is going to have to evolve and adjust and figure out what the next thing is so that you can continue to stay relevant and you can also continue to make money. Until next week, go make the money. Peace.
The Funded YouTuber is brought to you by Gigastar, a parent company of Gigastar Market, an SEC-registered funding portal and member of FINRA. Learn more at gigastar.io. Neither Gigastar nor its affiliated companies provide legal, regulatory, financial, or tax advice. Any opinions expressed herein are those of the authors and are the informational purposes only. The information and opinions expressed herein are subject to change without notice and do not take into account the particular investments, objectives, financial situation, or needs of any specific investors.